So many people want to know what really happens when we die. And I want to share with you, after doing over 10,000 readings, what I've learned from my spirit guides and what I've seen as a medium. I'm Whitney McNeil. I'm a certified medium, and I love helping you understand how you receive intuitive messages from your spirit guides and loved ones in spirit, and how you can tap into your own spiritual and mediumship abilities. So, death. Actually, I like to call it a transition. We transition away from our physical body, but we keep virtually everything else. We have our physical body, and then outside of our physical body, we have what is the etheric body, and then we have our mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. When we transition into the spirit side of life, we no longer have our physical body and we no longer have a need for the etheric body, but we can still communicate with people who do because we still have our mental bodies to be able to understand, to share, and to communicate. Now, those of us who are still living on the earth plane, we are a spirit and we have a physical body. So it makes sense that we can communicate with spirit and we can communicate with people here on the tangible world. So we actually are kind of walking in two worlds at the same time. And all that happens when somebody goes into spirit, they just stop walking in two worlds at the same time, but they can still communicate with us because we are. And that is one of the ways that you could look at this. But what we see living on the earth plane, if you've ever witnessed somebody who's getting close to passing on, most of the time they recount stories over and over and over. And what's really happening is that they are starting to translate and download things that they have stored in their brain to the mind. And so remember, I said that we still take our mental body with us so that we still can remember things. Our brain is like a computer motherboard, and we have stored so much detail in it. But when we pass on into spirit, we get to choose if we want to take that detail with us or not. And so those memories, like the highlights of our life, we start downloading into the mind. So we're going to take that with us. And some spirits choose to kind of do a complete copy and we remember it all, and others are just not. It's just the highlights, and some of us are somewhere in between. And that's the process that you see physically when somebody's recounting stories over and over. And when you communicate after the transition process, they can relay some of these thoughts to you. They can relay some of the memories to you. And that's why in some readings, some loved ones in spirit are able to give you a vast amount of detail, and other loved ones are just not as detail oriented, but they can still give you some valid information about what their name used to be or what they used to look like and that kind of thing. From a spiritual growth perspective, it's always great not to be bogged down with all the detail if you're a spirit. From my perspective as a medium, it's great when somebody has a lot of detail to give, but I wanted to give you what happens in both ways. Now, being here on the earth plane, you'll also observe sometimes that those who are near that transition process will start to see things. They'll start to see loved ones in spirit who've crossed over, who've been passed along for a long time. And sometimes they might see angels, they might see other things, pets in spirit. And that is actually what they're experiencing. They're seeing the spirit side of life because they are starting to move more fully into it. Even though they might still be here on the earth plane, they're starting to see it more clearly. Their mind is more open. They're starting that transition process. And so knowing that they are being welcomed and comforted by spirits on the other side of life, that is something that is happening. When they do cross over into spirit, they are welcomed by what I call a welcoming committee. That welcoming committee is usually comprised of people that they have known on the earth plane before, but usually not a ton of people because spirit doesn't want to overwhelm them when they have officially transitioned, but they are greeted by people that they have known and people that love them, and they comfort them. And so just knowing that they're not alone when they transition is really, really heartwarming and comforting as well. Once they've started to understand that they're fully into spirit, at some point they go through an orientation process where they learn about where they are, how to operate without a body, and how they understand what's going on and who can help them, any healing they might need, so forth and so on. Sometimes when they transition into spirit, they need a little bit of healing time to process. And this especially happens with passings that are not expected. But no matter who it is, they need a little bit of time to orient. Now, sometimes they have been transitioning for quite some time. Maybe they've been in hospice for a while and they've just really known that it's coming. And in those cases, sometimes I've seen them come through a reading like 3 days after their passing. Sometimes people have been gone for 50 years and they're still not able to come through because they're still going through a healing process. And their time in spirit is different than our time here. So we might worry about them. Oh my gosh, this person's been gone for 50 years. I'm really worried. Are they okay? And they are okay. They're just going through a different timeline than what we truly experience. So just know that they're going through their own process. When they're in spirit, they get to communicate with us. They get to come back through and make sure that we know that they're okay if they want to communicate with us. But they also get to grow and learn. They can grow and learn and participate in different activities to understand who they are. And really, on a soul level, we are all wanting to move into a higher vibration and grow as a soul and grow as an energy. So that's what they're doing on the other side. Life does not stop when we transition into spirit. We still are living active, full lives. We get to choose what we want to do with it, just like we are here on the earth plane. It's just we don't have a body anymore. Some of the messages that I've received from those who have passed on into spirit are I wish I didn't worry so much. I wish I would have done the thing I really wanted to do. I wish I wouldn't have held that grudge. I wish I would have been able to reach out to so and so. I should have communicated more. I should have taken more risks. I should have XYZ. The reason I'm sharing this is so that you can understand what some of the advice that they are giving is, and that maybe you can integrate that into your life as well. They recognize that the fear, the ego, the anger, the guilt that we can experience here on this earth plane is not worth it. And they want to share that knowledge with us. And that's really, really important. When they cross over into spirit, it's actually a celebration in spirit. It does not feel like a celebration most of the time for us here on the earth plane. And we can grieve and we can be sad, and we need to honor that. But they are experiencing such a welcoming, loving place, and they are celebrating their life, and they are learning, and they are in a really good place. So, I wanted to share some of what I've learned with you to understand there's really nothing to be afraid of in this lifetime and the next. It's really important that we live our lives as much as we can, but also know that you can still communicate with your loved ones who've passed over into spirit. It's just a matter of changing the way that you receive that communication. And that's why it's really important to develop your intuition and understand how spirit specifically speaks to you. I'm going to list some resources down in the links below, but I'd love to hear more about your stories in the comments. So let me know how spirit speaks to you, and let me know of any instances where you really felt that your spirit guides or your loved ones in spirit were communicating with you.